the Forgotten Realms wiki again, and we're going to be reading on today, AMN, Alternation in the Forgotten Realms, just south of Baldur's Gate. And we're going to do that as we eat some strawberry belts, which are some sweets that are, like, I guess, like, flat belt-like things with sugar on it. So, I've already eaten some of these. I bought them for a video and then pigged on them the night before. Yeah, I had them last night, so fortunately there's still quite a few left. So I'm going to just have a way at them as we read. So let's start with reading on arm. They're definitely sour. Also known as the Merchant's Domain, was a tremendously wealthy nation in West Faerun. Prior to the Spell Plague and the continent's disappearance, Arm held colonies far away in Mastica. Post-Spell Plague, is still controlled important trade routes to Calamsham and Baldur's Gate, as well as colonial ports in the Moonshades and Chult. Its population, mostly humans with a large minority population of halflings, was historically in the range of 3 million. The country's natural resources and wealth, combined with its mercantile nature, led Arm to become one of the most important and influential trading centres throughout Faerun. The crown jewel of this powerful state was the capital city of Athkatla, founded in 100 DR or 0 AR in official documents, and often known as the City of Coin. Geography. Geographically, Arm was a fairly small state, though its size was impressive compared with its neighbour and frequent rival Baldur's Gate. Historically, Arm held several colonies in Mastica, but during the Spell Plague these disappeared from Toril, along with the rest of the continent. However, Arm remained a colonial power throughout the 15th century DR, primarily through its fortified ports in both Chult and the Moonshades Isles, as well as the Mahir archipelago. Climate. The weather was pleasant almost all the year round in Arm. We're at Lake Esmel. The temperature was warmer due to the hot springs. A diverse selection of crops grew very well in Arm, making for a surplus, which was traded with other nations. Arm's rainy season was from Ukhtar to early Tarsak. The winters were mild with minor freezes and a little snow all across the nation, with the exception of Esmeltaran on Lake Esmel. Although the rivers froze over during Hammer, they did not harden enough to make crossing the ice safe. Due to blizzards in the cloud peaks over the winter, Nashkel could often become isolated from Athkatla. Geographical features. Bodies of water. Lake Esmel. Located along the eastern border of Arm, unusually deep, Lake Esmel was home to several hot mineral springs, and according to local legend, a powerful dragon. Forest of Shadows, also known as Mister. This ancient woodland overlapped with the elven kingdom of Elbereth. And Snakewood. There's no details on Snakewood. There we go. I'm getting sugar all over me. government. Since its unification under Thay's Selmchant, was ruled by the Council of Six, who resided in Ethkatla. Their main duties were to maintain trade within and outside of Arm, controlling nearly every aspect regarding the economy of the nation. Separate from their economic concerns, the council also coordinated the militaristic defence of the nation, a task which each individual member had a particular role. These positions were anonymously held. After the spell plague, however, things changed. The number of the seats were reduced from 6 to 5. Arm remained an oligarchy but abandoned all pretences of being anything else, and the positions of the council were openly held by the rulers of the 5 houses: Alibakar, Danir, Nashivar, Orfel, and Salmachant. However, despite all appearances to the contrary, many other forces continued to hold a great deal of power in the country, despite the efforts of the council to contain them. Directly beneath the council in power were the head of merchant families, who often wielded considerable political power. As it was from among their ranks, the new council members were elected, while families who didn't have a member on the council had little direct governmental power. Their influence and authority among the towns or cities in which they resided was still considerable. In any given city of Arm, there were between 10 and 30 heavily influential families within Athkatla, having 42 families that controlled the nation's trading houses. Next down in the power scheme of Arm were its mercantile houses, companies formed by the consolidation of two or more lesser merchant or merchant families' wealth. Both the council and the shadow thieves supported these consortia, investing small shares in order to keep an eye on the economic interests of the guilds and lesser families. The success of a house might make or break the influence and power of its investors. Let's get another sweet, eh? Standing beside the merchant houses in power were the cowled wizards, the Emerald Cabal, and the Shadow Thieves, each of whom possessed an enormous degree of unofficial power behind the scenes. The cowled wizards were themselves the only legal arcane institution in Arm. All others were banned by decree of the council and were controlled by the powerful Selmchants, who they served most often as underhanded agents or mercenaries. Opposing the cowled wizards were the secretive Emerald Cabal, a league of illegal arcane spellcasters who opposed the entire Armenian system and who were unafraid to use violent means to achieve their ends. Like the Emerald Cabal, the Shadow Thieves' power was substantially illegal, but in spite of this, they held a considerable amount of power comparable to that of the merchant houses of cowled wizards, heading a criminal network that flowed between their lair in Grimor, the rest of Arm, and the nations of the Sword Coast to the north. We're still on government here, by the way. In the lands of intrigue, including Arm, Tethir, village lords, also known as mayors and harbour masters, were elective officials in smaller settlements and port townships. Bigger cities had these positions assigned by nobles and wealthy influential locals as reward postings for investors and other distinguished individuals. As for elections, voting rights were granted to stakeholders, business people, property owners, and warehouse or shipyard landlords. Votes commenced vocally and in person in front of the local herald, witnessed by local clergy. Each local denomination had its representatives as witness. Candidates for the offices could be any local resident. The vote count was performed through tossed in as the voter voiced their choice. These voting jars were labelled and safeguarded by the herald and witness priests. Election time could last as long as a 10-day, but more commonly lasted for 2 or 3 days. Majority ruled. If tampering was detected during counting, a new election took place. When the office was vacant, in case of multiple re-elections, local clergy stepped in to perform the office's job until the winner was announced. Foreign relations. Some of the southern settlements in Arm had split loyalties, with some preferring to join Tethir to the south because of its recent prosperity as of 1370 DR. At the time, the border between Arm and Tethir was formed by the Tethir Road, although some disputed this, claiming it to be the Deshron Hills. To the east, Arm's extent was marked by Shalmister, and to the west by the Sea of Swords. Muradin, the monster kingdom, posed a significant threat to Armenian trade from the south, and during the 1370s waged destructive war on Arm that resulted in the slavery of 1,000 Armenians, whose unfortunate descendants continued to suffer under foreign rule. In the north, Arm extended to the northern edge of the Cloud Peaks and Nashkel. Historically, Arm had a strong rivalry with Baldur's Gate, which nearly resulted in war during the Iron Crisis in the 1360s. However, more recently, Arm's intentions have turned to Waterdeep, Arm's chief rival for international trade. Generally speaking, Arm had few friends. Even Tethir, ostensibly Arm's ally, viewed its neighbours' activities with deep concern. Heraldry. Armenian battle banners, usually flown in battles, were cut in the shape of a golden keystone. Pennants hung atop fortresses had a long and thin shape of stretched triangles. Banners and pennants had bright red bodies and golden borders with the imagery of the Pride of Arm, the badge that decorated the banners of city gates and worn by civic building guards. The Pride of Arm remained unchanged throughout the century that followed the spell plague. Horizontal row of 6 equally sided gold coins atop a steel grey open fanged maw. That's a mouthful. The circles that symbolised the coins of all, as well as the Council of Six. The coins were featureless, indicating the trade nature of Arm, accepting coinage from across the realms, and stressing the anonymity of the council. The maw was called Derag, and symbolised Arm devouring its trade adversaries. Trade. Money flowed in and out of Arm like no other country. It received a lot of goods from Kalimshan and Tethir to the south, on their way to the heartlands in the north. It was rivals with Waterdeep and Sembia, most often drawing merchants and businessmen. It also attracted adventurers from many lands, even from outside of Faerun. Thanks to its vast wealth and the amount of import that was placed upon smooth and efficient trade, merchant companies, often run by wealthy families or houses, held a great deal of power in Arm, so much so that they could compete with the more traditional political forces in the country. In the past, stone was imported from Mirabar via Luskan for use in construction, having been magically transported, which was an expensive process. Since Luskan's demise, however, this particular route was cut off. While trade was definitely profitable in Arm, the nation's lifeline of commerce was considerably under threat from the savage land of Murandin, directly to the south. Where's Murandin? Must be an old thing because I cannot see on here. No idea. Also, where's that road that they mentioned? Oh yeah, I see it. Anyway. So, regardless, demographics. Around a sixth of the population of Arm lived Hampshites and Tetherians. A very small proportion of Arm's inhabitants were shield dwarves in the mountainous areas and wild elves in Shilmistra or Snakewood, and fewer still from these races decided to inhabit the cities. Gnomes were a rare sight in the cities and aroused interest, except for Buskell, whose labour force was more than 20% half-orc. This race and half-elves were rare. Half-orcs were looked down upon as second-class citizens. Very bad. Halflings. In Armenian society, humans treated halflings as equals thanks to their business skills. Although human businesses tended to have strict hierarchy and leadership, halflings tended to rely more on teamwork, with no one individual having a sole responsibility. Few halflings lived west of Esmaltaran, preferring to live in segregation in this city or in Riatavin, because these settlements were near the lost halfling realm of Meridian society. Here we go. I'm taking a small break from the sweets. They are very sour and making my mouth go. Culture. Money was the key to status in Arm. A successful person was measured by the amount of wealth they display in material possessions, to the extent that it was possible to buy nobility at the right price. Lavish parties were common in recognition of events such as business success, but these were often expensive but acted to further demonstrate the wealthy status of the host. Status could also be demonstrated by giving gifts, expensive gifts, or gratitudes. Status could be measured in terms of the location of a person's property, although not so much importance was placed on the amount of land owned. Athkatla, I keep saying Athkatla, was the most coveted of places for a residence, and the Gem District was the best area in the city. As a merchant family rose in status, it was expected to acquire more than one property, and estates around Lake Esmel were the finest of these. Another form of demonstrating status was one's attire. Women often wore turbans, with more elaborate and ornate examples showing of higher status, such as gold, silver, or platinum threaded embroidery. Metal embroidered silk garments were popular amongst all classes and both genders. Vests or cloaks or furs from the north were in fashion, despite the temperate climate. Jewelry could Jewelry could be another show of status. Gem inlaid precious metal rings were common, and pearls, especially black pearls, were in high demand. Dressing in ornate or fancy garments and jewelry was frowned upon amongst the wealthiest of Armenian families, who wore simpler clothing, resorting to other displays of status instead. Status was measured using a scale of precious metals from ore at the bottom to mithril at the top. Lower ranks were often used as insults, while higher ranks could be used to compliment something or someone. These were as follows: ore, the lowest rank, used to mean filthy or criminal and strongly insulting. Bronze, the working class, could also be used to mean a low-rank imposter. Copper, acceptable working class. Steel, best of the working class or military. Silver, a rising merchant or one with much potential. Gold, one whose wealth was inherited or who was wealthy without business sense. Platinum, the head of a mercantile house. Adamantine, the highest self-made rank. And mithril, perfection, the highest rank possible. In general, the richest inhabitants commanded the less wealthy. A recent show of wealth, such as large purchase or a high bid, could immediately raise a person's status, even above those who were wealthier overall. More emphasis was put on proper business conduct than racial stereotypes, so as long as a potential customer adhered to these rules, it did not matter who they were or where they were from. Even so, Armenians were wary of potential threats to business, so the more wealthy were more often accompanied by at least 2 guards. Alright, we're going to take another sweet, it's been a while. Next time I'm not going for sour ones for these videos. speak because it's so sour. Although most languages were spoken in Arm due to the large number of traders from all across the realms, Thoras was used for official documents and speeches. This was despite common being used exclusively for this purpose in other neighbouring lands. A regional language, sometimes referred to as Armenian, was common, was spoken by the rural inhabitants of Arm, and was made up of a dialect of Common with certain words in Thoras. There are a number of phrases in common usage in Arm which are unique to the nation. See Armenian phrases. Magic. In Arm, arcane magic was considered illegal. Only those wizards who had patronage of one of the Council of Five could practice their art. However, domain magic was not considered a problem in Arm, as long as the curse was connected to a recognised religious sect. Religion. There was no state religion in Arm. Any religious practice was tolerated provided it did not interfere with the Council of Six, the government. All religions were represented in Arm, and religious freedom was important to its inhabitants. Some deities were favoured more than others due to their portfolios in relation to the day-to-day life affairs of the people. Some of them are as follows. Joaquin, the premier deity in Arm. Temple services to Joaquin were mostly parties and banquets. Lyra, because Lyra oversaw Joaquin's portfolios during the time of troubles, her worship grew in Arm. Soon, well suited to Arm due to importance of status and appearance, the clergy of Soon were often dressed more provocatively than elsewhere in the realms. Shanti, due to the importance of agriculture in Arm, Shanti was worshipped widely near the time of harvest. Most worship occurred in small shrines in rural areas. Selune, mainly worshipped in Muran because it was a port city. Sirik, many temples of Bane fell to Sirik after Telvon Bloodshoulders' efforts. The worship of Sirik was spread throughout the Shadow Thieves. Over the past century, Sirik's influence grew substantially, and one of the Council of Five, the Pomarch, was a devotee of the Church of Sirik. Arm was one of the few nations where Sirik was worshipped openly. Wow, that's surprising. Sirik is dead though, isn't he? I thought Sirik was dead. Anyway, Helm, prior to the god's death in the year of the Three Streams Blooded, 1384 DR, Helm was worshipped in Arm, though not extensively except in tradesmen. Ilmater, like the fallen Helm, Ilmater was not worshipped extensively except in trade meat. Alright, here we go, history. Oh, there's not actually a lot to this, that's fine. History. I'll tell you what, let's have another bite. Arm was one of Faerun's youngest nations, but also one of its richest. It had a brief but crowded history. By the time of the Spell Plague, Arm had expanded further than any other Faerunian power yet, reaching its influence the shores of the fabled continent of Manstiga across the trackless sea. Oh my gosh, there it remained a local power until the cataclysmic events of the Year of Blue Fire. The entire continent disappeared, along with all of its inhabitants. Even so, Arm's status as a colonial power was hardly broken, and in the absence of its old colonies, the ambitious rulers of the merchants' domain instead opened up colonies in the more local areas of Chult, the Maya Archipelago and the Moonshae Isles, which we've already read about. And this is the last section. Notable locations. Athkatla, population about 122,000. The city of Coin was the capital of the crown and jewel of Arm's kingdom. It was considered a pilgrimage site for the followers of Joaquin. Athkatla rested just west of the Tradeway, south of Nashkel, and north of Trademeet. Grimoire, population about 4,000. A wool trading hub east of Athkatla, just south of the Cloud Peaks along the southern Tradeway. Grimoire was also the open centre of Shadow Thief activity. Ashburta, population 24,000. city located in the eastern part of the kingdom, south of the Troll Mountains. Esmelteran, 35,000. Halfling-dominated city in eastern arm near Lake Esmel. Kexula, population 47,000. A gem mining town that previously contained many gold and iron mines. Nashkel, a town that had been stricken by an iron shortage in 1369 DR. And Burskal, population 27,000. A granary city that was also an important caravan stop. And then we've got the colonies. I didn't realise. Hold on a second. I thought that was. That's the Never mind. Never mind. Port Nyanzaru, population 12,000. A highly profitable Armenian port in Jolt. Port Nyanzaru was well defended, protected by 3 gates and a high wall. Snowdown, 20,000. One of the Mooche Isles, Snowdown was controlled by Arm through the Lady Elrisra Derisin. And finally, Spellhold. The settlement was once an asylum located on the island of Brynlaw, off the western coast of Arm, under the command of the crowned wizards of Athkatla, oh my god, used to house the deviants they had found in Arm, practicing magic without an official license. However, it was abandoned during the 100 Years' chaos, and was considered a taboo location for travellers. Interesting that's quite cool. That sounds like a cool adventure. Imagine going to an old wizard's asylum. But it's obviously not an asylum, it's just a prison. But they call it an asylum. That sounds like a really cool one-shot idea. Let me know your one-shot ideas in the comments below. Because that brings us to the end of the video. And that's us talking about Arm. So yeah, a lot of that information I think has come from what I can say, from what I can see. A lot of the details of this are from some novels which relate to Baldur's Gate 2 and Baldur's Gate 2 Shadows of Arm, which isn't much of a surprise because Arm is literally right south of Baldur's Gate. And there's just some other details from other places, but yeah, that's basically that. That is Arm. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know in the comments. Drop a like, subscribe if you're not already. Check out the videos appearing on the screen right now, and I'll see you in whatever video comes next. Take care.